hello and where you're from, and please start to put your questions in the comment section on the platform on which you are watching. Let me know where you are at right now. Are you on a sunny beach? Are you out in the cold? Are you doing all those things that we talk about here at the Dr. Janine Show? And hey, if you're new here, please let us know as well. Say hello so all of our regulars can give you a shout out. And of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and that you are following. It's great to be here, of course, on Wednesdays if you're new here. Of course, yesterday we had the Dr. Janine Show, which is on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We usually alternate the weeks now, so I'll be back in a couple weeks for the live show. And Wednesdays, as a follow-up to yesterday's show, I answer your questions because I can't always get to all of your questions during the live show. There's a lot of information, as you know, that we go through in the live show. So it's great to have you here. Zena in Houston, Texas, nice to have you here. Thank you. Montana in San Antonio, thank you for tuning in. Mel Curley, hello, hello. I'm so glad in Wexford, PA, Pennsylvania, that you love the show. Thank you for tuning in. Great to have you here. Borna Goats is under a blanket in Riverside, California. Yes, that's a nice, cozy place to be. Beautiful. Miss Money in Cincinnati, nice to have you here. God's Child in California. This is coming in so quick, I can't keep up. Okay, Karen, hello, nice to see you in Arizona. Alta in India. F. Ferre in Toronto, great to have you here. Thank you. God's Child, you're in Fremont. Okay, California, great to have you here. MD Amin, thank you for tuning in from India. Great to have you here. And 34 Jad in the Philippines. Irvine, California is in the house. Kana, hello. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Lucas from Austin, Texas, I'm guessing, right? Yes? All right. Hello, Estelle. Nice to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. Fat Cat in Detroit. Thanks for being here today. And it is amazing to have you here. Okay, a question coming in. Rome P, what diet are you following? Well, in terms of healthy eating, what I've learned over the years and what now I educate people about is eating foods in season that are locally available to you depending on where you live. So a seasonal local diet is ideal. So here in a cold Canadian winter right now, what do we have access to? Chickens, eggs, some meat. I'm not a vegetarian. A lot of people think that I am, but I'm not a vegetarian. And of course, seafood when I can get it, absolutely. And there's not a lot of, locally grown vegetables and fruits right now. So apples is something that usually keeps through the winter here. So I do eat apples. And some greens, leafy greens, a little bit through the winter. I do make soups with the available vegetables that are grown locally here. So that's another thing that I like. But yeah, those are just some of the things that I do now. That would vary, dramatically based on where everybody is living. And as we can see with all the comments coming in, thank you so much, people that are here from all over the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, questions. How to control psoriasis on the scalp. This is something that we actually talked about in our show yesterday, and I'll remix up some of the scalp recipe that I have and this works really well for dandruff. It works well for psoriasis on the scalp. But yeah, we did go through some very important tips yesterday. Maybe we'll go over to the whiteboard really quickly. And I'm going to remind me to write out those words in our shampoo. So if you weren't here yesterday, make sure that you are looking into your shampoo bottles. Maybe you want to go and grab it from your bathroom right now, because we're going to look at specific ingredients in shampoos that are completely toxic, and hopefully it's not in the shampoo that you're using. All right, so let's go through a little bit of the tips of what we talked about yesterday for dandruff and psoriasis on the scalp, which we know is inflammatory. When it is psoriasis, it is related to autoimmunity. Yesterday we talked about leaky gut syndrome as well, and why it's so important to take care of your gut health. Fixing those tight junctions in the gut, very, very important. So that is part of what we talk about here, and that's why it is point number one. Fixing that leaky gut becomes really important in terms of dealing with that psoriasis on the scalp. Sync your circadian clocks. What does that mean? Well, your circadian biology is based on the light and dark cycle of the day. And where did I put my glasses? I just had them. Okay. So your blue light blocking glasses, really important. I'm under artificial lights right now, and having been in the sunlight, so the sun actually came out a little bit, so I was outside this morning getting as much natural sunlight as possible in the morning and doing my cold exposure as well, which is here as well, in terms of your circadian biology, and blocking that blue light, artificial blue light that's coming into your eyes during the day, especially if you're living indoors a lot, becomes very, very important for your circadian clock mechanisms, especially after dark. So after the sun has set, our clocks, we have clocks in every cell of our body, our clocks need to know that it's nighttime, that it's dark, and that is in turn going to help what's going on in terms of your immune function, inflammation processes, your hormones. So syncing those circadian clocks. I've got a bunch of tips on my other videos how to do that, so that becomes really important. Full body detox. You know that I like the herbals here. Of course, sun and cold exposure whenever you can. Absolutely, you're doing this every single day, especially as the sun is rising, you want to get outside. And there's something called UVA rise, which is usually about 45 minutes to an hour after the sun has started to rise. And that UVA is a very important time. Again, it's syncing your clocks in terms of knowing what time of day it is. So that becomes very important. Coconut oil is something that you can use on your scalp topically as well. Fantastic. It has an antifungal effect. You can make the mask. I'm going to show you that in just a second. And the red light therapy. Of course, natural red light. The sun, what is the biggest spectrum? So the most highest percentage of color coming from the sun is red. That's very important for our physiology. And UV as well, very important from the sun. So taking your hat off, so if you tend to wear a hat all the time and you have scalp psoriasis when you're outside, you want to take that hat off and get natural sunlight on your scalp. And black seed oil, taken internally, can be really helpful as well. Okay, I want to show you this recipe really quickly. Orange lenses work, yes they do. So the blue light blocking glasses, the more red ones, the orange amber ones, I use closer to bedtime, so usually about a half an hour before bedtime. That's actually something that we discussed in a podcast that I did recently, talking about red light therapy and all these things. It's really funny, so make sure when that episode comes out that you tune in, make sure that you're following me as well. Thank you for all my new follows. And let's just go through really quickly the Soothing Scalp Mask. Very hydrating for your scalp. This can help even with hair growth. That question came in yesterday. And Miss Linda is asking, is it the same as infrared light? You have a lamp. Yeah, so infrared is a little bit different from the actual red light. Usually the red light therapy is at different nanometers of wavelength, usually in the, I'm not going to say specifically, but usually in the 600s. But yeah, it depends on the lamp and what you are wanting to target with your health. And those are more details that I'm really going to go into. If you're following me, and you're going to be following me with my new book coming out and things, and I talk a lot about specifics of red light therapy and how this can help. So yeah, so make sure you're following me. All right, so how do we make this? All right, so we just need some aloe vera gel, so about a tablespoon of aloe vera gel. Ideally, you're getting it from the plant, but if, in a pinch, you need to buy it from the store. You buy hopefully your pure aloe vera, which is amazing. We've talked about aloe vera a lot during the show. You're gonna put that into a glass bowl, then just 5 drops of tea tree oil. Now, tea tree oil can help to kill some of the fungus on the scalp. There's a fungus that we talked about yesterday called malassezia, very commonly associated with dandruff and other scalp conditions, itchiness and dryness of the scalp. And 5 drops of the tea tree oil, which is very stubborn. I don't know, it did this to me yesterday as well. And either a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar or witch hazel. You could probably use both if you wanted to. And you're just gonna mix that all together into this little concoction. Now, certainly if you have a bigger scalp, you're gonna need a little bit more. You could double the recipe, it's totally up to you. But now you're just gonna part your hair, and depending if, how much hair you have, you're gonna part your hair and apply it all over your scalp, just with your fingers. Then you're gonna let it sit there for 20 to 30 minutes. If you do wanna wrap, I didn't say this yesterday, if you wanna wrap your head in a towel, that would be nice as well. It's very cooling, so it feels really satisfying. Helps to soften your hair because of the aloe, which is amazing, is very hydrating. And then you're going to shampoo it out after 20 to 30 minutes that it's been on your scalp. So I hope that helps. Well, here's the recipe here. We showed you that if you want to screenshot that really quickly. It is amazing. Now I see some very specific questions coming in. Of course, I can't answer specific medical questions, so please keep your questions very generalized when you're asking the questions in the comment section. That is better for everyone as well when you can do that. All right, thank you for tuning in. Somebody here from Northern Canada. I don't know if that's a question or a comment, it's cut off, but thank you for tuning in. And Frozen is saying with a lot of dandruff and dry scalp. So yeah, so this could be really helpful just for dandruff and dry scalp. It doesn't necessarily need to be a psoriasis, situation happening. That scalp mask is amazing. All right. And how often can you do this? 3 times a week? Mrs. AC, the great question, 3 times a week. Some people like to do it more often. I like for the microbiome on the scalp to kind of find its own way, so to find its own balance. So I like 3 times a week. And hey, sometimes if it works the first time and you notice that everything is getting better, then maybe just, give it a week and do it once a week. So everybody is variable in how quickly they heal. And are you doing the red light? Are you getting outside? Are you watching your diet, for instance? Are you doing the detox? I mean, all of these things are variable as to how you are treating it. Sherry, how can you grow your hair back with alopecia? Get more vitamin D, natural sunlight exposure. Red light therapy is one of the things that I used to do with my patients, which vitamin D and red light therapy and infrared were amazing for getting that hair growth coming back. So yeah, those are things to definitely look into. Yes, cradle cap, that will work as well, the mask. Just, it depends on the age of the baby. Sometimes with the essential oils, for cradle cap, the tea tree can be a little bit strong, so that would be something to keep in mind. And if they're touching their head and scratching, and then in their eye, for instance, would be not a good situation. So it depends on the age of the child for the cradle cap. Olive oil for cradle cap is something that works well as well. And you just let it sit on the scalp, probably depending if it's a young baby, then I would probably be more apt to do either the coconut oil or the olive oil on the scalp, let it sit, and then usually the scales will sort of peel off and away. And again, more outdoor exposure, natural sunlight exposure, watching the sugar if the baby is breastfed. This is a great question. I love answering baby questions. And I promised I would give you more content on that. I have to do that. So my team, please remind me. I've got to make more videos on mommy information, because you can be so lost. I was with my first baby. I was so lost in terms of how to care for this little young soul, and that's why I made it my life's work to learn about natural medicine and really helping with these things. Kabir, why am I wearing the glasses? These are blue light blocking glasses because I'm being blasted by artificial lights in the studio. So whenever I can wear them, I do wear them. It just makes health so much better. And so if you don't know a lot about blue light blocking glasses, it's something to especially look into, especially if you're on tech a lot, if you're on a screen a lot, you definitely want to look into that. JC Santos, hello in Brazil. Thank you for tuning in today. It's great to have you here. Thank you. It's great to have you here. Baking Mama of 3 for cradle cap. He's 4. Okay. Videos about breast milk too. Yeah, sure. Definitely. My team is going to take some notes because I will talk about breastfeeding and tips for that. I mean, I have lots of children, so I have lots of experience as well. Not just as a mom, yes, but as a naturopathic doctor as well. So yeah, putting all that information together I think is really helpful for moms out there. Maybe I'll even do a course on that. That might be interesting because I think, like I said, a lot of moms are lost, and there's a lot of misinformation out there in terms of what we can do for our kids. All right, so yesterday we also we talked about leaky gut syndrome. So maybe we'll just do a little review of that really quickly in case you missed it. So leaky gut, of course, if your poops are not optimized. Yesterday we also talked about hyperthyroidism. So if any questions, just jogging your memory, if you had any questions about hyperthyroidism, please put them in the comments. But yeah, if you're not having the gold standard poop, the S-shaped dark sinker, or a good healthy poop like this, a log that is smooth on the, or relatively smooth on the outside, then, you know, you could have some leaky gut issues. And this is what we talked about yesterday. Some of the most common causes of having leaky gut, things that you probably haven't heard as an association. I mean, your doctor probably, if you do have gut issues, and maybe it's constipation, diarrhea, IBS, Crohn's colitis, or you know somebody who does, did they ask you about your EMF exposure? Okay, everybody put in the comments, what are EMFs? What does EMF stand for? Let's see, all my regulars, of course you know what that is. And if you don't know, then put a question mark if you don't know what EMFs are, and we'll just go into that just a little bit. EMFs, yes, Philip, good job. DSM G22, okay, Simbashi, 3 Canadian brownies. Okay, a lot of questions. What are EMFs? Okay, Charmed Life for me too has it in the answers there. Great job. Namaste, Cooking Queen. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so EMFs, electromagnetic fields or frequencies, often is something that people talk about as well. And yes, the phone is probably your biggest exposure to EMFs is your phone. And depending on where you live, if there's, you know, a certain number G, in terms of that exposure, and your Wi-Fi router, your computer, your desktop, your television, anything electronic that is near you, your smartwatch, dangerous stuff in my opinion, to have that connected to your body. So these are all things that, yeah, we definitely want to be aware of, because those EMFs disrupt the health of your microbiome. And your microbiome, and there is some research on this, so you can look it up. It's actually, we've posted some of those studies in previous episodes on my show, so you can look that up. But how the electromagnetism, those EMFs, non-native, so not natural EMFs, actually affect the microbiome, and they can make some of the less favorable organisms in your gut flourish, whereas it's destroying the good guys, your probiotics. So it's something to be aware of as that's related to leaky gut and gut health issues. Now we know that leaky gut is so much more than just gut health issues. This is also related to autoimmunity, and we talked about yesterday thyroid issues. So hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, if it is autoimmune, can be and often is related back to leaky gut. Okay, circadian rhythm disruption, we just talked about that if you're just tuning in. So that has to do with the light and dark cycle of the day, magnetism of the earth. I mean, all these different things that change during the cycle of 24 hours. All right, vitamin D and zinc deficiencies can be a causative factor for leaky gut. Synthetic vitamin C, so actually taking vitamin C as a supplement, can be implicated with leaky gut syndrome as well. Sunlight deficiency, yeah, that's a big one. Stress, of course, some of the bad guys that can be in the gut, of course, alcohol consumption. Doing too much exercise causes leaky gut, so it is a stress to the body, so you maybe not wanting to overdo it. And yes, I see some great comments coming in. Hello, Miss Heaven, nice to have you here. Thank you, Jojo. EMF increases mold growth by 600%, absolutely, and that is a big problem. The smartwatch is sitting on your meridians, absolutely, in traditional Chinese medicine, so that is another factor. Teddy, raw aloe is very good for leaky gut. Just make sure that when you extract the aloe, that it's not too close to the actual green part, the leaf, which is a big purgative, so it'll make you maybe throw up and have a lot of diarrhea. So you just got to be careful with aloe and where it's extracted from. And if you're drinking the juice, usually the reputable companies, they know what they're doing, so it's almost safer to do it that way than extracting it yourself, in my opinion. All right, thank you for Hanny. Thank you for tuning in today. How do we stop cravings for junk food? And yes, okay, so junk food cravings, it depends what's going on. So is it something happening with leaky gut? Is it because of these guys that are making you crave the bad stuff? And so that's why doing this type of cleanse that I talk about, when you've seen me talk about Cabo, so those herbal medicines, that's kind of like a basis start point that I like to educate a lot of people about is starting with this combination. We call it CABO, C-A-B-O, cloves, artemisia, black walnuts, and oregano. Those herbal medicines are really powerful at getting rid of some of those bad guys that we saw in that earlier chart. So that here in terms of this, okay? So that can be really helpful in terms of sort of setting up the stage for a healthier gut, a healthier immune system. So that becomes very important. Now, how do you know if you have a leaky gut? There are different tests that could be done in terms of the leakiness, like zonulin tests and things. So you could talk to a practitioner about that and getting tested for that in terms of blood work, which is a good thing definitely to do if you're not sure. But if you have a lot of the symptoms of leaky gut, or you do have an autoimmune condition, then is the testing really necessary? If you've had hives, for instance, that can be related to leaky gut as well. In the past, you are highly allergic and have a lot of allergy symptoms, that can be related to leaky gut as well. So it really does depend on what is going on with you. Was there another question? I know I was going down a road with what I was talking about. Anyways, it'll come back. Okay, so lightening the skin, Caesar. I'm not sure why we would want to lighten the skin. And here's the thing, the more melanin you have, the healthier you are. You need that melanin, and that melanin in the skin, so actually getting darker is, and I know for beauty reasons, people kind of have your own ideas about, what is beauty, and you don't like to see dark patches and things. But that being said, actually being able to, build up your melanin, there's a reason why if you're getting dark patches and it's not just your normal, suntan that's happening, if it is in patches, there could be something underlying that area that your body's actually trying to draw more sunlight into your body. We know that the darker you are, the better absorption ability it is to bring in that sunlight. So maybe there's something deeper going on that your body actually wants you to bring more sunlight in. So just another way of thinking of things that, again, people don't think of these things because we only think about the beauty aspect, but we have to think about our underlying health aspect, what could be happening here. So thank you so much. And Summer Baby, okay, the detox herbal medicines are a little bit different. I don't know if we could find the detox herbal medicines. So you often hear me talking about, getting rid of the bad guys with the Cabo, but these are the detox remedies. And that's something that I take in combination. So it's all in one capsule, all of this, and it makes it super easy to do that. I really love the fact that the chlorella helps to deal with the heavy metal toxins. So we know that things like mercury, aluminum potentially, has toxic effects, especially if we've got some of those bad bugs happening in our gut and in our gut system with leaky gut syndrome. So the chlorella helps to address that as trapping some of those heavy metal toxins. All right, does that make sense? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. So back to, craving the sweet. So you got to kill those bad guys. Doing, some of these herbal medicines as a full body detox is a great thing. As an example, I mean, I've shared this with, a few people close to me, and it seems to be around holiday time. So, for a lot of people, it's Christmas, and in that holiday season in the wintertime, there's a lot of eating of extra sweets and foods that feed those bad guys, and all of a sudden you start craving this stuff all the time. You want more chocolate all the time, you want more sweets and sugar and stuff. Well, to turn that off, sometimes doing this type of cleanse and is super effective with this and the Cabo, starting with the Cabo, so killing off those bad organisms first and then following it up with the full body detox. It just kind of turns off that switch for wanting all of those sweets. Now, another big thing with craving a lot of sweets and craving food in general is something called leptin resistance. So if you haven't seen any of my content yet on leptin resistance, please check it out. It is really important. Okay, Barit, is it safe to use for pregnant women? Are we talking about this protocol? Usually I don't recommend it in pregnancy. Usually we wait until post, after you've had the baby, to do these types of protocols. With some of the herbal medicines, they're not usually recommended in pregnancy. Now, doing it before you get pregnant, absolutely. I used to do this this combination with my patients all the time. Pre-pregnancy, when you're trying to conceive, it can actually help with fertility as well. So getting rid of those toxins, it's very, very important. For the full body detox herbal medicines, can it help with seizures and epilepsy? Possibly, yes. So often there's a component with vitamin D deficiency, lack of natural sunlight, heavy metal toxicity with that condition. So it's something definitely to consider and to definitely look at. And of course, epilepsy is going to be a multifactorial as to what's happening, but there's something, happening with the nervous system that needs to definitely be addressed. All right, so let's take a look really quickly at those ingredients. So I hope everybody was able to get their shampoo bottles out, or if you check this, okay, this is something, SLS is one of the things, so sodium lauryl sulfate, and the sulfates that you may find in your shampoo or conditioners can be really irritating to the scalp, so these are not good, so these are bad. I'm just gonna put this for your shampoo and conditioner, okay? In case somebody's tuning in, they're like, what's going on here? All right, there we go. So SLS, very bad, okay? As well as urea, and some of those breakdown products, I have to look at how to say, hydroxyethyl, hydroxyethyl. All right, is one of those things that you definitely want to look for. Another one, diazolidine. Diazolidine. Okay, so these things, yeah, anything that you can't pronounce, like I can't pronounce these very well, are potentially, of course, toxic ingredients that you're finding in your beauty products. Of course, fragrances, perfume. So if it says the word fragrance, that can be, oops, can't spell either, fragrance, there we go. That can also be a number of different ingredients, and it's just labeled as fragrance. And I think the number, I can't remember, it's like hundreds of different chemicals could be actually classified as just a fragrance, and all they have to put on the label is the word fragrance. Polysorbates as well, okay. Something else to avoid in your shampoo, and sorbic acid and sorbates, okay? So sorbic acid, and then there was the big one, propylene glycol, okay? So this was the allergen of the year, propylene glycol. And I believe that they're slowly going to phase this one out, hopefully soon, but it was classified in 2018 as the allergen of the year. And, oh yeah, I missed the cetyl and stearyl alcohol. So alcohol, so cetyl, did I spell that right? Cetyl, yes, or sterile alcohols. I can't read that. All right, you get it? All right, there we go. I hope that helps. So yes, so make sure that you check out your shampoo and your ingredients in your shampoo and your conditioner. All right, so thank you. Nancy, thank you so much. That's so kind. And thank you. Please hit that share button. Make sure that you are liking today's episode. I see all those hearts coming in, so thank you so much for that. That is amazing. And it's great to have you all here today. Speedmaster9 is asking about kidney stones. So kidney stones, yeah, there could be something happening with your vitamin K status, which is very common depending on where you live. In different parts of, let's say Japan, for instance, they tend in their diet to naturally get some more vitamin K. So they usually don't have that vitamin K deficiency if they're eating their fermented soy products. However, for example, here in North America, we can be vitamin K deficient, vitamin K2, which is very important in terms of our calcium metabolism and tells our calcium where to go, like into our bones, into our teeth. That's a good thing. But if it's going into things like our kidneys, forming kidney stones, that could be problematic. But there's a number of different factors for kidney stones. Watching your caffeine intake, coffee intake, making sure you're drinking enough water, making sure that you're actually urinating, making sure that you're getting enough sunlight exposure, again, is related to your calcium metabolism. And if you're not doing that and getting enough sunlight exposure, then that can really offset your proper calcium metabolism, relates back to your thyroid and your parathyroid hormone as well. I hope that makes sense. All right. Healthy Pharmacy is asking supplements for heart health to keep your arteries clean. Vitamin K2 is top of mind when I think about these things. There's different herbal medicines that I like to use as well. Vitamin CoQ10 is important as well, and different herbal medicines that have been found to help with, balancing out cholesterol levels. Not that cholesterol is a bad thing. Of course, cholesterol is a very good thing, but we need to make sure that we are optimizing our levels, of course, of our sunlight exposure. Nancy, K2 and D3 together, I don't like them together. It can actually cause hypercalcemia, so too much calcium in the blood at once. So I like to separate them out. I always think about timing of things. So I prefer that calcium is taken, if you do take calcium, like a whole food calcium supplement, like a coral calcium, that's the one that I take, closer to bedtime, you want to maximize its deposition into the right places, taking that with your vitamin K2. Vitamin D3, if you do need to take it, I prefer it in the morning. And that's because it does help with energy levels, metabolism throughout the day. And our vitamin D3 typically is something that, if we're mimicking nature, then we would get that sunlight exposure during the day, not so much at nighttime. So that's why I prefer vitamin D3 in the morning with magnesium. I know it's different from what you've heard, but that's how I've always, prescribed it. Magnesium in the morning because it helps with our metabolism, helps with the proper beating of our heart as well, and that regular heartbeat and our stress levels we know can be related to magnesium deficiency as well. So keeping that all succinct is really, really important. How do I feel, Keith, about red light therapy for the thyroid? I think it depends on the device. Okay, so here's the thing. I do have a podcast coming out very soon about things to look for in a good red light therapy. It depends on EMFs. It depends on flicker rate. It depends the proximity. It depends on the power output of the device. It depends on the wavelength of the red light. So there's a lot of factors that, just as a consumer, if you're going to, purchase a red light, you kind of have to do your due diligence as to what is really a good red light. And then treatment protocols for something specific like thyroid is something that you should probably talk to a practitioner depending on what's going on with you in terms of, how you would do that. You don't want to overdo it with red light. That's the thing. Because you can overdo it, and it kind of works against you if you overdo your exposure with red light. So using more of a minimalistic approach to red light therapy, you don't want to bake under close proximity to a red light all day, but there are ways to use it at a distance as well. To help to offset some of the toxic lights that you could be under all day, not living outside under the sun. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, I'm glad that everybody is loving the glasses. Germ CC, why are they yellow tinted? Because it helps to block the artificial light that I'm exposed to when I'm under artificial light during the day. And I find it's really, for me, my eyes have become so sensitive. I saw bright sun for a lot of this morning because I was outside doing my cold exposure. And so when I come into artificial light now, my eyes are super sensitive to it. It's like, it's very invasive to me. So depending on the day, I think most times we should be wearing these during the day if we are inside to block those, not so healthy wavelengths of artificial light. If you're, especially with the energy efficient light bulbs that we talked about yesterday, we talked about that fake light. So if you missed yesterday's episode of the Dr. Janine Show, please check it out. It lives where you can find long form videos, so make sure you check it out there. And I appreciate Everybody who tuned in today, I know there's some more questions coming in. I do have to run, but thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you in a couple of weeks back for the Dr. Janine Show on February the 11th. That's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please join us then. Check out my content in the meantime. Send through, your questions, your comments on my videos, and my team will definitely relay that information to me. It's always such a pleasure to connect with you all. Thank you during the lives, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.